All right. Y'all know that my laundry room floor got soft. So I had to replace the subfloor. Now I'm starting on what will be the finished floor. Now you all remember what I did in my bathroom. How I took plywood, cut it into strips like a board width. This one that's cut right here is actually 14. Because I started putting down the top floor. It's not the finished floor because I wanted to put, and I already talked about this in a video, that I wanted to put some pretty linoleum. The linoleum that like has patterns like flowers, some linoleum that was decorative. Then all of a sudden I thought about something that I did a long time ago. My table in the old house was small. And it was before I had the table I have now. And to hold everybody, because it was originally a desk. You know how nowadays you can buy tables, dining room tables that have a little drawer in it? Okay. My dining room table was a big, solid wood, old antique desk that came out of a classroom. It was a teacher's desk. Not a teacher's desk that had the 3 drawers on the side and one here. It was more like almost like you would just say it was a writing table. It just had 2 small, like this tall, sort of long. They were fairly long drawers, but very thin, like you would just put paper and pens in. It had 2 of those. My boss, years and years ago, when I drove for Cleveland ISD, she's since passed away. She gave it to me when I got Nanny's house, and she said, did I have a dining room table? And I said, no, not yet. And she said, I have this antique desk. It came from the school. It belonged to the school, but they had sent it to the trash. They were getting all new stuff. You know, it was all of a sudden this modular stuff was coming in, and nobody wanted that old antique furniture anymore. And she goes, you can have it if you want it. It's, I think she had to bring it up there because I don't think basically, well, maybe during that time you could actually give it to a teacher if you wanted, or somebody that worked there. I don't really remember. I know at a certain point when the schools didn't want anything anymore, they would set them out by the dumpster. And if you came and got it off, if you went dumpster diving, fine, but you couldn't just give something to a teacher. It was not allowed. And then it got to a point that they didn't even put stuff out by the dumpsters anymore. They literally would have this, they rented a building, a business that had gone out of business, and they stored everything there, and then every so often they would have an auction. But this was something that she had been giving. They were not using them anymore. It was big. It was not the size of a piece of plywood or anything like that, 4 by 8. It wasn't that big. It was like, let's say, it was probably 4. What are you doing here? That's Buddy, and that's shit. Sorry. That dog bouncing around with one leg belongs to Dustin and Jill. I just seen, I think, Tina pulling up to Mom and Dad's, but this dog is here. And little girl, you don't belong here. You belong at Gigi's. What are you doing here? Sansa. She lost her leg. She was run over. So that's Dustin's little dog. I don't know what she's down here for. Anyway, so what I did to make the table bigger, I cut a piece of plywood a little bit wider. I put a rim around it. I put some molding around the edge of it, like right here, to make it, and then I sat it down on top. So side to side, it was the same width, and that molding hanging down the edge held it in place. It wouldn't let it shift, but it was longer. It made it longer. I used 1 full sheet of plywood, and so it was 8 foot long, but it was still just the width of the table itself. And that's what I used as my dining room table. And what I did to make it, I don't know, I had this thing in my mind, and I took black paint and I painted leaves on the four corners. Just on the four corners. I sanded it, and then I painted in black these leaves. I was doing what I've seen the versions of those tables, like where people burn it out. You know, it's like an inlay, it's burnt. Okay, well, I didn't burn things. I didn't know how to do a pattern I didn't have a burning tool, any of that kind of stuff. So I just did it with black paint, outlined it in a black marker. And if I didn't like it, I sanded it and then started again. And I got all four corners had these really pretty leaves, floral leaves. And then I painted it in with black paint. Then I went over the whole thing with stain and poly. And that was actually here even after the fire. It was leaned up somewhere for a long time, but it was only 1/2-inch plywood. It leaned up somewhere, and at some point, I think the edges got wet, and, you know, plywood will peel, you know, because plywood is layers. Anyway, so what I thought about when I did that, and I thought, this is what I'm going to do to this bathroom. Instead of the linoleum, I'm going to put the boards down just like I did in the other bathroom. So this one's all ready to go. It's 14 inches wide, and it's been sanded. And it's 39.5 inches long, because that's between the water heater. The water heater's in a little closet with a wall. You have to unscrew a couple of screws to get that paneling down to see the water heater. So I will make something later that literally looks like a door. It'll look like a closet, and when you open it, you see the water heater, and it'll be permanent, but a door, you know. It won't be a piece of plywood that I have to unscrew if I ever want to work on the water heater or do something to a water heater. It'll literally be a little farm type looking door. But the distance between the wall and the water heater wall is still the same, 39. Now at some point it gets wider, because then you've got the full width of the laundry room walk area plus the washer and dryer, which is in a cubby, you know, a little cubby built in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all these down just like I did the other bathroom floor, all the way from one end to the other. And then I'll be able to move things, do things, whatever I need to do. But when it comes time for that room to become the actual, I'm going to leave it just the way it is right now. When it becomes time for that room to become the powder room, I'm going to paint the floor white, solid white, creamy like an antique white. Then when it dries, I'm going to come back with some type of stencils and do either some kind of a filigree stencil or some random, maybe a picture, you know, like a flower or something. But I'm going to do that randomly, and that's it. Mom even asked me in the car, I was telling her, she was, are you going to seal it with something? I said, if I seal it with something, it'll have to be something that doesn't yellow, because polyurethane yellows over time. So I'll have to use some other kind of sealer, like a lacquer or something. But it can't be something that yellows, because poly will yellow. Anyway, that's my plan for that bathroom. And then when that beadboard goes up and that floor has got this really old-fashioned design, like those painted rugs, that's my impression of what I think I'm going to do. It's going to be really cute. So this is what I've got going right now. I'm cutting these ready to go down on the subfloor to make, this will be the top floor, and then later this will be painted and stenciled, and it's going to be so pretty. But I just thought I'd video a little bit of me working out here today. It's hot, so hot. I just went down to Daniel's. He wanted me to see something, project he was working on. And I got some of my tools off of Bree's back porch, because, you know, I never finished at Bree's because she never called me to come back. She had company, then she went somewhere another day. So all my stuff is still sitting down there on her porch. So I got my sander in the bag with the sandpaper, and I got my drill. I left the other stuff down there. Anyway, I'm cutting these boards, and then when I get them all down, I'll show y'all how it looks. But it won't be painted or anything right now. None of that's going to happen till I'm done moving things around, until the laundry room is now until the new laundry room is a working laundry room, and then this room is an empty room ready to become a powder room, and that's when I'll paint the floors. So anyway, I just thought I would show y'all this and throw out my idea of how I think it's going to look. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. All right, I'm going to give you a little not heads up, but just a little peek into what my plan is if you didn't understand it before. All right, so I patched in underneath the subfloor. I chipped it away and put down new, like 3/4 inch plywood under there. Those pieces under there, and I put it down there and patched the spot, because it was literally right down the center of this. Right down the center was where that pipe was dripping, and it was just slowly, and it was about, I told Mom, about right here started where my foot is, and there's that much of all of this was, you couldn't walk there. You'd fall through the floor. The only thing that made people, if they passed by and didn't realize, was because the linoleum was there and you couldn't tell how bad it was, but it was horrible. All right, so I patched that. And then I started taking these pieces. Now, some of this is brand new plywood. Some of it is like older plywood that has not been stained. It's just older, so it's discolored. There's some pieces that have been painted white. And then here is an actual 1x12. And then a 1x12 that was, because I didn't have any smaller, I had a couple of 1x12s out there, so I had to rip it down here. Don't look at how big this daggum gap is. I'll have to fix that later when I come in with beadboard and then trim, some of that'll just disappear. You won't even know it's there. Same way with this line running down right here. When the beadboard, whether I go full sheet or whether I go wainscoting high, once it's there, like I did out here, once it's there, then I'll put trim across the top, trim at the bottom, and we're done. What I'll do with that, I think, is just case it out. I don't think I'm going to put an actual door there. I think I'm just going to case it out and just always make sure that my laundry room is clean. So people passing by, if the door is open, look through, they're going to see that dresser right there. Not the one I just made, but the one that's coming out of my dressing room. It'll be right there under that window, because that white cabinet right there is what's going to go where the washing machine is sitting at now. And it will become the sink. I'll drop a sink down in it, put some real pretty chrome fittings that go down so they'll be seen because it's open. And, but I'm going to have a plumber do it all. I'm not doing it this time. The only thing that I did not do is that this is 36 and 39 inches from wall to right underneath the washing machine. Because underneath the washer and dryer is a sheet of plywood cut. I mean, it's touching. It's butted up to it. But the plywood literally comes from this wall where the AC unit thing's in there, to that wall, which is the water heater in there. So the toilet and the sink will sit in this little cubby here, right here. And I've got junk everywhere. So there's a piece of plywood down there. When it's time to work in here, and these will get pulled out first. This room in here will be ready for them to, this room in here will be ready to take them. They'll be moved in and hooked up. Then this room will be empty. When this room is empty, I will pull that piece of plywood up and get rid of it, or use pieces of it, because I want the grain to run all the same way. Even though I'm not staining it, I'm painting it, I want the grain to run the same way. But the thing is, I do not want one line cut right here and the new pieces on the other side of it. That means there's going to be a straight cut line right there, and I don't want that. So when it comes down to doing this room permanently, I will stagger. I will pull up one or two of these boards and put them all the way through to that wall back there, on the floor. They'll go all the way through. So like this board right here, I'll pull that one up and cut a new board that goes all the way to the wall back there. That way when you come in here, you've got that staggered wood. You've got it staggered. It don't all just butt up to another piece right there. A piece, a piece, a piece, a piece, a piece. And then you've got this line right in front of the toilet and the sink. I don't want that. So when I get it all done and painted, then I'm going to do some type of a decal. And not a decal, but what did I tell y'all earlier? The word. Now the word is, I done lost the word. Dear Jesus, I'm so tired. Stencil. I will stencil something, either a vine or some kind of filigree, or either stencil some random pattern, some kind of a random pattern all over the floor. After it's white, I'll stencil it in black. And then maybe put some type of a varnish or a shellac on it, but whatever it is, it can't turn yellow, because I don't want the floor, the white, to eventually turn a yellow color, which happens with polyurethane. But usually they're stained, or even if it's just wood like that, in a year, that'll be a brighter yellow or a deeper yellow than what it is now. So anyway, that's the plan in this room. This is where we stand right now. And tomorrow, since I'm not doing anything to it right now, I just needed to get it down so I can walk through here and do things and bring a dresser in and take a dresser out and do all this stuff. I needed this floor fixed. So I've spent this entire day working on this floor. And I'm exhausted and I'm sweating. And I mean, like, sweat is literally, I can feel sweat running down me right now. And I'm just gritty with sawdust. Tomorrow after church, I'm just going to run to the Family Dollar or Dollar General and just try to find a cheap runner that will just go down the center of this, because, you know, with raw wood like this, without it being sealed, there's always going to be sawdust, and I don't want sawdust. I don't want a splinter, because it's not going to be finished yet. It's going to be a while before it's finished, but at least I can work. I have a solid floor. Again, I have a solid floor, so I can't wait. And these doors, I'm hoping to replace all the doors at some point. But when I get ready to do this room, that will be one of the things considered in the cost of redoing the room, getting it ready, is a door will be purchased. What is my watch saying? Oh, 10,000 steps. Whew. And my day's not even over. I still got to feed Molly and feed goats and close up chickens and cats and Minky. And anyway, this is what I'm working on right now, and this is done. So I'm fixing to do the things I got to do outside, and I'm calling it a night. So I love you guys. God bless y'all. See you later.